Why's the burp right at the start of the video? So gross. Hello.
What about G?
We wanted to do a sit-down video today all about...
Wait.
I dragged him along. All about Japan. Because I started vlogging about a year ago now, and obviously there's loads of parks that we've been to before that we weren't, when we went to them, we weren't vlogging or filming or whatever. But I feel like there's quite a lot of expertise and kind of advice we could give from those trips. And a lot of people ask me about Japan specifically, comes up quite a lot. So we thought the China video went down quite well. I mean, I think that was people just enjoying our misery, to be honest.
Grim. Don't grim.
But yeah, we thought we would sit down today and talk to you guys all about Japan. So I put a tweet out, put it out on Facebook, asking people what they wanted to know, that kind of thing, to help kind of... What's that?
That's my Japan. So
weird. Yeah, asking us questions about Japan. So I thought I've kind of taken the general essence of the questions and I have compiled them into a list, and we are going to answer them for you. So
woohoo!
Connor was there too, so I thought he would be helpful as well.
Yeah, I like Japan. Japan was not like China, and I think it's massively racist of me.
Don't say
I'm
that.
probably just to make that assumption. Go, it'll be the same, but it's not. Ain't nowhere near.
Yep.
Such a lovely, polite bunch of people.
That's one of the questions, so stop going into detail.
Sorry.
So we'll get
Answer
there.
the question, right? Start away.
Right.
Go.
Right. Stop it. You ready?
People will watch this and be like, that's like
racist
Japanese stuff. And these can be good edit points.
Shh.
Stop
Stop it now. Ready?
Probably got one of them. Go for it. Knock yourself out.
A question that a lot of people asked. Stop it. Stop it, because you're annoying me. One of the...
Go for it. One of the questions people ask
is... shush.
Go for it.
Right, enough now.
Done.
Right, one of the questions that pretty much every single person asked was about travel, which like, you know, other countries have like roads and like travel, right? Like, have you got nits? What are you doing?
Big head, lots of hair.
Scratching your hair into the
camera. Think.
Yeah, like I always think this is a weird question when people are like, oh, how is it to get to the parks? It's like, it's pretty much the same as every other country in the world. Like, there are like vehicles and stuff that take you to the parks. So when we went, our trip was we went Tokyo to Osaka, stopped in Nagoya in the middle. We kind of based ourselves in Tokyo and Osaka kind of respectively, and use those as hub points to get to the kind of the parks that were in and around those cities. So when we were in the cities, we were using kind of the rail services, the metro system, that kind of thing. I think for Fuji-Q there was a shuttle bus that we took from central Tokyo.
It's like Nora, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't that far, yeah.
But to get to the parks from the cities, it's really easy. Lots of them are on the metro. Like Disney, for example, has its own stop. Universal has its own stop from Osaka. There's tons of parks you can get to from Tokyo itself. And like I said, you've got those shuttle buses and stuff. To get from Tokyo to Nagoya to Osaka for parks like Nagashima Spa Land and Shima Spain Village, those kinds of places, I'm sure you can do it on public transport, but there were quite a lot of us. I think there was a group of about 10 of us.
We worked that out. There was the pass.
The JR pass, I think it's called.
That pass.
The rail pass.
The rail pass was about 200-300 quid each.
Yeah.
But because there was 10 of us, that was $3,000 we were spending on it.
Yeah.
So it was quite going, right, well actually there's $3,000. I'm comfortable to drive in another country. And the roads were really, really clear.
And they drive on the same side of the road as
drive on the same side of the road, and the only thing you need to do is get an international driving license, which looks like a ration book.
Yeah, and it was really easy to get the international.
Yeah, you just go to the post office and they get a bit of press stick and stick it into your ration book. And it's really interesting because when you go to get your car rental, they literally give you, they don't want your driving license, they want your ration book. Yeah. So the renting the car was really easy. If you're a confident driver, I would easily say go there. I've been in worse European cities driving. France, Italy, you know what I mean, that there was good. The only thing we would say about driving was that the tolls are very expensive.
There's quite a lot of toll roads, which we didn't like when we planned the route using Google Maps to get around, by the way. So getting around all the train stations, everything, we planned out where we were going to go using Google Maps. It's really useful. Google's like, oh, tolls on this road, and we were kind of like, yeah, like it's fine, like M6 toll, like it'd be 3 or 4 quid. No, it's quite expensive, so, but it still works out cheaper than everyone getting the rail pass.
If you're going with a big group, I would say 7. Probably there's 5 of us in the car, so we split by car. Anything about 4 or 5, look at driving, because you're going to be spending, if there's 4 people, so there's £1,200. If the pass is around 300 quid. Your car rental for our car rental was about 200 quid. Wasn't expensive.
Really cheap.
And the roads are really easy to drive on. So even if you spend another 200 quid on tolls, you're still quids ahead as a group.
Much
and then you have that freedom when you're not relying on buses. So I think in the one bus, the one at Fuji Q, isn't it? So on the bottom of Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
We had to leave early because the buses were going. No,
just gives you that freedom, doesn't it? To do and leave when you want.
We were finished, but we did want to go in and do the horror hospital, whatever it was. So it was like an hour-and-a-half queue, and we kind of thought, well, we do need to get a bus. So we had to write it off.
Yeah.
We probably could have got a later bus if we needed to, but if we had a car and we parked, just leave when we wanted. So it does.
And we did that when we went to Nagashima. We literally, I think we did 3 parks that day in the end, and we like fit them all in absolutely fine. We weren't rushing around.
And there was no issues. Like, it is really, really easy. Don't be intimidated to drive.
Yeah.
There. It's the only one I can speak for, because in Japan we did drive, and I was like, it wasn't an issue.
And then getting around kind of the metros, it works very much the same as like an Oyster card or something similar like that. You get these cards, you top up at the machines, and you just kind of swipe in and out as you use them. It's really easy.
I think, don't get us wrong, because we definitely used the underground and the rail system more so than we used the driving.
But we didn't have the car the whole time. We flew into Tokyo. We stayed in Tokyo for like 5 or 6 days, just using the metro system to get to the parks and get around. And then as we were leaving Tokyo, that's when we picked the car up. Like, Connor went to the airport and picked the car up, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then we drove.
So you're talking, I think out of the 14 days, we maybe had the car 4 days out of it.
No,
so
it was longer than that, but yeah.
No, it wasn't. When you think about it. No, it wasn't. Anyway, she needs to disagree with me.
Stop doing that.
It's your edit bit.
No. So yeah, that is how we got around Japan. Really easy. Literally, there were no travel nightmares or anything like that when it came to Japan. It was really, really straightforward to get around. Google Maps is really, really helpful, really clear. So before you go, just make sure you're planning all your routes on there, whether you're planning to travel by train or whether you're planning to drive. Really straightforward. And then when you're driving as well, we stayed in an Airbnb, but they gave you with your Airbnb you had these little portable Wi-Fi's. Bearing in mind we went in 2015, so if you're going this time, like, it might have changed since then, but we had this portable Wi-Fi. We were using the Wi-Fi to plug in our journey, and then obviously Google Maps still works without the Wi-Fi as long as you've made sure you've got your journey preloaded, so you pretty much just go from there. Really, really simple. And
if you are really stuck, all the 27, what is it, 24/7s, 7-Elevens. All the 7-Elevens of Wi-Fi.
I was thinking, what are you talking about?
Oh, so if we did get lost, we would find a 7-Eleven and then call the other person across the Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And there's 7-Elevens in every corner.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, actually.
It's full of...
And speaking of 7-Elevens, the next question is about food. So what's the food like, especially for fussy people, someone specified?
If you're fussy, stop being basic. You're in Japan, eat the local food.
The good thing about Japan is even if you are fussy, like, a lot of the food is like meat on a stick. So a big thing in Japan is yakitori, which is like flavoured chicken on a stick. And it's like a kind of fast food kind of thing. Like, people would come out of the pubs pissed at night and go get yakitori, and you kind of have these restaurants you go in and get just loads of different flavoured chicken on a stick, and it's really fab. And like, who doesn't like chicken? Like, if you're too fussy that you won't even eat chicken, I don't recommend going to Asia. But then you also have, like, you have your standard chains, like you have McDonald's, there's Denny's, there's Hooters. Taco Bell, there's Hooters. Yeah, we had Hooters. Yeah. We went to Outback one night. Like,
I think that, you mean,
you can have a good mix.
I think Japanese food, it depends on what, it depends on what you're like. You're more into Japanese food than I am. I'm not a massive fan of dim sum and sort of
sushi. You like sushi?
I like sushi, but we had a nice mix of the two. There's always options. I think with China there probably wasn't as many options.
Way less options in China, I would say. Japan, you seem to the one thing I would say about Japan is it was quite weird where there's quite a lot of bakeries around, and obviously for breakfast we were kind of like, okay, we'll pop into the bakeries and like get some kind of bread or something. And in the shops the signs aren't in English, they're in Japanese, so you kind of look at something and go, okay, that's probably like a cheese roll or something. Like it'll be a roll with like what's obviously melted cheese on it, and you'll bite into it and it'll be like strawberries and cream, and you're like, okay, weird. And then but it works the other way, like they had these little pancake things and you got them and they had like fish inside.
Yeah,
so there, just be careful with that kind of thing, because
but don't I think that
but someone's asked specifically if you're fussy and you don't like
fussy.
Yeah, but that's the question is if you're fussy.
Don't be fussy.
So
it's food, they ain't gonna kill you.
But yeah, just be wary of that. Like maybe like get something and like break it open first rather than just like biting straight into it or something like that.
Don't really
like,
surprised.
Yeah, it's that was the thing. The other thing that's fab is they love to meet, like I said, like they have like cheese rolls of like strawberries and stuff. They love to mix like sweet and savoury. So when we went, they had McDonald's fries where you could squeeze like chocolate sauce onto it, or they had like I don't know, like in Tokyo Disney Sea they had the tiger tail that was like a sweet kind of like a bao bun, but with like a chicken pie filling that was delicious. I love that kind of thing. And they also had that sea salt ice cream. They had like a clamshell with like raspberry jam and sea salt ice cream. I love that kind of thing, so it was like right up my street. I was in my element with that kind of thing. You'll get a lot of kind of weird and unusual snacks, especially Disneyland does a lot of kind of themed snacks and stuff. But yeah, we got on fine. Like basically if you love Japanese food, obviously you're going to be absolutely fine. There's tons and tons of options. But also equally, if you are fussy and you don't really like a big flavour palette, or you're a bit nervous to bite into something because you don't know what it's going to be, there's loads of kind of Western options as well, I guess.
And if you like green tea, everything's green tea flavoured. You got a Kit Kat
matcha flavour.
Matcha flavour.
Yeah.
It's just
delicious.
Nah. But yeah, no, plenty of food. Food's easy.
And Kit Kats. You have to get the weird flavoured Kit Kats. It's like, I feel like that's one of those, I feel like people think that like in the UK we just love M&Ms. Because you know when you go to the airport and there's like loads of massive novelty bags of M&Ms. In Japan it's Kit Kats. So they have like these big novelty bags of different flavoured Kit Kats, which we definitely partook. We got loads. We got tons.
Everybody in my work at that time got loads of Kit Kats.
Yeah.
Because I forgot to buy them something till I got to the airport.
We got loads and brought them all back with us.
That's the one.
The next question is, what are the parks like compared to the rest of the world? Which I thought was quite a broad question. I guess you mean, are there any kind of major differences in the way that, I mean, Japanese parks
go back the other way.
No, they're upside down, yeah. No, I guess you mean maybe do parks do things in a different way? I think one of the main differences park-wise that I would notice in Japan was when there are shows on, everyone sits on the floor. So, you know, like when you're at Disneyland Paris and you're waiting to watch the nighttime show on the castle, and there's always like some dickhead with his kid on his shoulders stood right in front of you, or someone stood there with like their phone with its light on in your face. You won't get any of that. Everyone is just so respectful of each other, and they were using their park maps as like a floor like cover, so that everyone had their park maps unfolded and we just sat like politely on the park maps waiting for the show to start.
Yeah, I think that's a culture thing. I think they're very, very polite people, and there is no sort of disrespect. There's queue lines and people will queue, and there's no queue jump in. It's kind of like, right, well, we're all going to sit here and we're going to sit and watch the fireworks show, and we're just going to sit on the ground till we need to stand up, or we'll just stay on the ground. I think we watched the the electric
Main Street Electrical Parade.
the very one. We were watching that, and it was quite nice not being crowded out and having room around you, and
you can just sit and chill. It's
no
nice.
invasion of personal space and no prams going over your fingers when you're sitting on the ground. It was just really nice, and I think that was probably one of the better parades that I've seen in the Disney park, because it was actually just, oh my god, people are respectful. What is this?
One thing I would say as well, different in Japanese theme parks, is the operations. So especially obviously Fuji-Q definitely lives up to its name for the terrible operations. They're just crazy for health and safety. Like if you've got earrings, take them out. If you've got a hairband, take it out. If you've got a belt on, take it off. And Thunder Dolphin, I remember as well, like we were stood in the queue and we were about 2 or 3 trains ahead, and they were coming around going like, take everything off, and it's like, well, I don't want to stand here for 2 or 3 trains worth holding all of my shit. Like,
I think
that was a bit annoying.
I think this comes into that element of you guys knowing what you're doing, and going, well, I know I'm safe to have my watch on, and they're like, no, take it off. And I think it's one of those things, is you're in that country, you have to respect it.
Yeah, you just get on with it, but it's definitely
but yeah, you gotta be prepared for it, because they will take everything off. I think with Fuji Q, we bought fast passes, and it was money well spent, because I think the rain started.
The rain, there are certain parks where the rain will really affect operations. Again, Fuji Q, slight drizzle, everything shut off. And that's one of the reasons why we're like, we'll go home then.
Yeah.
Because it rained and everything closed, and it's like, well, it's not going to reopen anytime soon. Nagashima, things were running and they did their best, but it was like we went there in like a typhoon.
Yeah, there was no point going.
We shouldn't have gone. But I remember we went there and they had like the map at the front, and all the names of the rides were in Japanese, and there were certain ones that had like a little umbrella symbol next to the rides, and it was only like 3 of the 20 rides, say, listed that had the umbrella symbol, and I was like, oh, only 3 of the rides will be closed in the rain. No, it meant only 3 of the rides would operate in the rain, so we ended up going inside and we basically sat around like,
it was a waste of the day.
Yeah, we should have just gone. To be fair, I don't know what else we would have done.
Something, but to be fair, we did go back, and we went back at night time.
Yeah, and it was
fireworks
great.
show and rode, what's that one?
Steel Dragon 2000.
One
great.
in the night, which was quite good. So yeah, I mean, it did work out in the end, but it was frustrating sitting in grey clouds and just going, I got nothing to do.
Yes, which was annoying. I guess there's other weird kind of cultural things, like something that really sticks out in my mind is the way they reserve seats. You know, like if you went into a restaurant in like a busy theme park in the UK, you wouldn't get a table first, then go get your food, then come back. You get in the queue, get your food, and then once you have your food, you'll find a table. But in Japan, they find a table, they'll put their bags and stuff on it, and that's their way of being like, this is my table, and it's reserved. Then they go get their food, and then they turn around, and we had a couple of instances of that in our group where we were just like, no, sit down, and they really were like, no, like this is not how it's done here. Yeah.
I think the thing is,
how can you in one breath say, oh, you have to respect the culture, like that's what it is, and then next time you're like, no, I'm gonna fuck your coat on the floor, this is what I'm saying. It is weird that like you would end up in a situation where you had a bunch of people sat at a table while someone else went and ordered the food, a bunch of people sat at a table with no food, and you're stood there with a tray with food, and you don't have somewhere to sit and eat. Like, that was a bit weird, I thought.
I think the only other thing that I would say, and it probably goes for Japan, but it is for the theme parks as well, there is no negotiating with, if you think you know better, or it don't matter, this is the way it is, and that probably goes for all of them. It's going, no, these are the rules, and if you go, well, actually that's a stupid rule, I don't think you should do it that way. Can you let me on the back? No, you've got to go around here, but it makes no sense. It's the same with the watch, and maybe like you can't have any loose items, but here's a key to your locker, which is a loose item that we put all your loose items into.
Basically, they have a system and a way they do things, and that's it. There's no arguing. Like, we went to Universal, and there was a group of 10 of us, but we all need to buy the fast pass, kind of, what's it called, express, when we got there, because it was quite busy when we went. And Harry Potter was new at the time, and they were doing timed entry into the land, but because we paid separately, all 10 of us, they gave us 10 different times to enter the land at Harry Potter, and we were like, no, well, we're a group. So that was another cultural thing, actually. They pay for everything all together. Like, you would never have a group of 10 and everyone pays separately. It's literally one person would pay and then you'd sort out your money afterwards. And that was quite weird, because obviously we would be like, well, no, I'm paying for me. But that was the only time where it became like a bit of an issue, because it was like, well, hold on a minute, you've given us all different times, and we really had to argue to get them to change the times so that they were all the same, because otherwise it would have messed up our entire day. We wouldn't have been able to go around the park together. Like, eventually they did come and sort it out for us, but they really didn't. They were just like, no, that's just the way it is, sorry. But I think that was the only time we really came up against that. Every other time it's kind of like, okay, weird cultural thing, let's just get on with it kind of thing.
Tattoos. That's the
other thing. Yeah, in theme parks in Japan, you go for it.
I have a tattoo on my leg. I rather quite a cool rocket, because I like rockets. And we went to, I don't know, that crap one.
Toshimayan.
Aye, nothing there. We walked up and it wasn't busy. So I rocked in a pair of shorts, and I had a pair of tracksuit bottoms or something in my bag.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. Friends of ours went to the same place, and she had a leg tattoo, similar to mine, walked up and said no tattoos.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, we couldn't figure it out, and I'm sure there is somebody out there who's probably got reasons, and comment below if you do, but it seemed to be where there was a pool related that it seemed to be dirty, that you couldn't have it. So where there was a pool area, then you wouldn't be able to go.
Yeah, you get a lot of the parks had water parks attached, and it was very much in the water parks, no tattoos.
No tattoos. So we went and the water park wasn't open, so it wasn't a problem. I never had any issues with my tattoo. My tattoo's on my leg, so you don't necessarily see it if I'm wearing shorts, unless I'm wearing shorts. But I know if you do have visual ones, you may have issues.
Yeah.
It's not as much as everybody says. Oh, they'll think you're in the Yakuza or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, it isn't that. They're not going to run scared when you got tattoos.
No.
But it is definitely sort of something that could potentially pop up as an issue. So bring a pair of shorts with you, or bring a pair of large trousers with you.
Something to be aware of. And as well, a lot of people said to us that theme parks in Japan, people kind of dress up a little bit to go to, and we didn't really find that as much, but you do find a lot of the parks are like date spots. So you get a lot of couples. Like the groups going around the parks weren't really families. It was like groups of girls all dressed the same, or couples, like young couples. It really wasn't families on a day out with their kids, which I found quite odd. Like, obviously in the UK or in America, a theme park is very much a family day out thing, and in Japan it was more of a kind of young person activity, wasn't it? So the next question asks us, how does Disney compare? And I guess that's about how does it compare to like the US parks or Paris maybe. Obviously Disney in Japan kind of has this real reputation for being absolutely amazing. It was one of our most anticipated parks of the entire trip, and we ended up doing it right at the start. I think it was the first park we visited, was Tokyo Disneyland. Tokyo Disneyland is a weird place. I didn't love it. I rate it in my kind of list of Disney parks. I rate it quite low. Not that, the thing is, it's a Disney park, so it's not bad. Like, you're not going there going, this place is an absolute dump. Like, it's not. I just found that it was massively overhyped for me. Like, I'd heard years and years and years of people saying Tokyo Disneyland is incredible, it's the best theme park in the world. And we went there and we were like, like, it's fine. It kind of feels like a lot like the Magic Kingdom, but a bit more dated. Like, it felt a bit retro and weird.
Don't know. I just thought it was. I kind of thought what you said before, which is that the spaces were quite big between, because obviously it's used for massive crowds. So the spaces, it's the pavements and the sort of the ways you would walk around seemed to be quite wide. So I wasn't a fan of the park.
Yeah.
But Disney Sea was the opposite. I really enjoyed Disney Sea.
Yeah.
What I liked about the park was the characters. When you were interacting with the characters, like, ooh, white people.
Yeah, that was the thing, the face characters.
And the face characters seem to not be as popular as the costume characters.
Yes.
So if you get like, who did we meet?
Cruella.
We met Cruella, had a great interaction with her, dancing up and down the street.
Yeah.
Must have been with her for like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
But then when she was out, nobody was really going around her, but everybody was around the rescuers, and that was quite interesting to see, because you couldn't really do that in any other park that I've been to. So that was cool. But yeah, it wasn't great. The only thing that I was really cute, which was quite nice, was the amount of effort that not young girls, but like the teenage girls would put in. So when we were going into one of the shows, there were these girls in a cosplay type, not cosplay, Disney bound princesses, and they were all there. We had a load of Plutos that were girls just in black t-shirts, green shorts and wearing green hats. Goofy, but we were like, there was like 6 of them. Yeah. So there's those sort of efforts are put in, which is really, really nice.
And even the couples had like cute, like Donald and Daisy outfits, and they weren't dressed as the character, they were dressed in costumes inspired by the characters. If you don't know what Disney bounding is, that's kind of, okay, I'm going to do a Daisy Disney bound, that means I'm going to wear a lavender t-shirt with white trousers and yellow shoes, and that's me dressing as Daisy in a Disney bound style. So that was really cute. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Disney Sea absolutely lived up to its expectations and its reputation. Disney Sea is absolutely incredible. It is probably the best theme park in the world. The only downside to Disney Sea that I found is there's not actually a lot there.
Nah.
Like, but it doesn't matter, because you can spend hours just walking around and taking it all in, and I will sit here and just have a snack and like have a bit of a drink and like watch a show or something. But it is so decadent and so over the top, and the dark rides are all just absolutely incredible. It's it's fantastic. Every single thing there is brilliant.
Yeah.
One thing I would say about the Disney parks in Japan that was crazy when we went was the there's a real, like, you know how you get like these kind of crowd planners, and okay, we know that in Magic Kingdom in Florida the most popular ride in the park is probably still Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That's very much the case in Japan as well, and in the Tokyo Disney parks, if you want a fast pass for Toy Story Mania, you're going to have to run, and I mean run, at the start of the day to get in the line to get a fast pass, because the fast passes will sell out in like the first half hour. So you really do need a plan of action to attack those parks. You can't really, unless you had like a whole week there, you can't really just rock up and be like, oh, we'll just take this as it comes. No, you kind of have to look at the park plans and what's the best route to do the parks to avoid the crowds and that kind of thing, because they're just crazy for Disney over there.
I was going to say, but that's only if you're in a rush. I think we made, well, we did make the mistake. We had the air, we kind of went to go and get that rubbish Winnie the Pooh ride that everybody loves.
Oh yeah, everyone went on and on about how good Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt was, and we were just like,
we ran to get it, and then it was, you couldn't get a fast pass for it. Then we're like, oh, let's go get one sink, and that, to me, that kind of ruined the sort of the start of the day, because we're running around trying to get fast pass stuff, and then I was like, all right, we'll join this queue for I don't know, it was Big Splash Mountain. But so we had sorted it out, but at the end we still got on Pooh's Honey Hunt, because we were like, well, that's 40 minutes, we'll just join it now. So, and when we did Toy Story, we queued with the big mass of people in Tokyo Disney Sea, went around, got our fast passes for later in the evening, like 7, 8 o'clock, so we had that, so we were perfect. But there was times when we looked at the sort of chat and thought, well, that's 30, 40 minutes, that's 50 minutes, that's an hour, so it's not the end of the world if you don't get one. And if I look back at Disney Sea and what Toy Story Mania was, I probably wouldn't have queued that, because that queue was a good hour, and I could have just queued that for the ride anyway later in the day. But what I would have had was the whole park to myself for the first hour and a half, 2 hours, because everybody was queuing.
Everyone was in a queue for a fast pass.
So you mean that it's not the be all and end all, and if you like taking in that entrance and you know you run around, I don't think you're missing much.
No.
But it just depends on what you're into and what you're there for.
But the culture in the Disney parks is really cute, like we were saying. People dress up and it's really nice. People are just really polite and kind of generally having a nice day out. People aren't rude or stressed out or kind of pushing to the front of the line like they are in the kind of Western parks. Everyone's just having a nice time, and it's just so cute. Everything is cute. The food is amazing. The rides are amazing in Disney Sea, especially, way more so than Tokyo Disneyland. But yeah, they're absolutely fantastic parks, and anyone who's into theme parks should look to visit that resort, because it is incredible. So the next question is, how did we find the language barrier, especially when it came to signs and finding our way around?
It's all English.
It's not though, not especially when you're in the cities it is.
Yeah.
In the cities it will have like the writing in Japanese alphabet, and then the same place written, obviously it will say Tokyo, but it will be written in English. But the thing is, people don't really fluently speak English in the Disney parks. You'll find they're doing in kind of Tokyo and Osaka, you'll find people do, but generally speaking, outside of that, people don't really fluently speak English.
I don't think they speak English at all. But
it's never an issue. You kind of just mime each other and point at things and laugh and get on with it.
I think in the 7-Elevens, I would walk up and go, how you doing? And then they would speak to me in Japanese, and I would speak to them in English, and have the best conversations in the world. I'd be like, you alright? How was your day? And they'd be like, whatever, and I'd be like, yep, cool, same to me, all the best, cheers, Slana, there's my money. See, but the interaction on the other side would be the same thing, where she's going, what do you want, there's your, how much it is, there's your change, have a good day. Still saying the same stuff, I'm presuming, or she would just call me a big fat Irishman with a beard. But where those interactions were happening, in the, I don't even know how you would say it, in the lower skilled jobs, right off English. So toll booths, 7-Eleven, stuff like that there. If you go to a train station and there's a guest services or an information centre, there may not be everybody speaks English in there, but there will be somebody who speaks fluent English. But a bus conductor on a platform won't. And that's no disrespect to anybody, because I'm saying it's the same in the UK, where if you go to them, do you speak French or German? They're going to go, nah, don't.
No.
So it's a skilled work thing. Restaurants, especially Western restaurants, not a problem. We did, the culture in restaurants out there is to put your hand up, and we were in one restaurant where they had a buzzer on table, and the menu had pictures on it, and you'd be like, one of those, one of those, and one of those.
And a lot of time they have the plastic food as well. They'll literally have plastic like versions of the food, so you can literally go, look, I want that. And
it seems to be a Japanese thing with food. We're probably going back to the food question, but they want to see pictures of food or see what the food looks like. So there's almost plastic, as you said,
and it's all very particular, isn't it? And the food will come out looking, you know, like if you see McDonald's over here in the photograph of a Big Mac, like reality versus expectations, like, and it's always like really disappointing. But in Japan, it looks
has to be the same,
exactly like the kind of the model of it looks, which is quite cool, I thought.
Yeah, no, very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same in any country where they don't speak English as a first language. You kind of just get around. Like, you're never really lost because you can just kind of mime and point, and you'll figure it out.
I don't think I ever had it. Yeah, I think I'm just thinking of Fuji-Q when we bought fast passes. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
They pushed them up to you, and you went that, and that. There's ways of working it. You know, I mean, Japan's a small country in relative terms, and they definitely have a lot of English language people going there, so they're well prepared for it. It'd be slightly ignorant to think the word.
I think one thing to bear in mind, not just travelling to Japan, but travelling to any country that doesn't speak English as its first language, is as long as you're prepared and you've done your research, and you, like, if you're getting from A to B, if you've kind of looked on Google Maps before you've left and you have a printout and you vaguely know where you're going, that is always going to help. So just research as much as you can, but there are going to be points where you don't 100% know where you're going, but the Japanese people are really lovely and helpful, and they will point you in the right direction. Like, they're not going to leave you just wandering aimlessly around. Like, they'll put you on the right train or whatever. Like,
yeah,
you'll figure it out. It's fine.
It's never an issue. Never an issue.
Next question is about merch. How's the ride merch?
Love a biscuit.
It is so cute. Everything is adorable. So they have this thing in Japan whose name I am forgetting. There's basically this Japanese cultural thing of, if you go for a day out, you have to buy all of your loved ones a gift. So that sounds expensive when you think of it in kind of a Western way of looking at souvenirs, but what it is they'll do like multi-packs of things, and when you open it, things are individually wrapped. So you could buy a box of biscuits, but inside the box of biscuits there will be 25 individually wrapped biscuits, and each of your friends and family gets one biscuit, and that's their present. Everything has a cute mascot. So there was like Fuji-Q, and at the bottom of Fuji-Q there's a cute Fuji-Q plushie. We went to Himeji Castle, and at the bottom of Himeji Castle there's a cute Himeji Castle plushie. There's Hello Kitty everywhere. There's Hello Kitty for everything. Like, Fuji-Q had a specific Hello Kitty range of Hello Kitty just getting creds.
Yeah,
like everything was adorable. And obviously, if you know about Tokyo Disneyland, they have kind of a lot of homeware and a lot of just niche, weird, cutesy things. Like, they'll have like lint rollers that look like characters, and like toilet roll covers, and they had like the monorail had these kind of Mickey handlebars. You could buy one of those. Like, it's all really weird niche stuff, and like they still have all the usual, like they have mugs and pens and that kind of thing.
Don't have pin badges.
Don't really have pin badges. Yeah, I mean, that might have changed since we went, but when we went, I was still big into kind of collecting pin badges, and that trip to Tokyo is the trip that kind of put me off collecting them, because none of the parks had pin badges, and I was like, well, this is shit. Yeah, but generally speaking, your pens, your t-shirts, the t-shirts, you'll get a lot of cool what they call English, which is like where it's Japanese but translated, it's English translated from Japanese, and it hasn't translated that well.
What was it? There was something like, I want a boy who's got the eyes of an owl or something like that. There was one of the ones.
No, that was in China.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But it's a similar thing though. Like, they had, it'll be like, feel the energy of, and it's just you read it and you're like, it does make sense, but it doesn't read quite right. So you'll get quite a lot of that stuff, which is always fun if you like that kind of thing.
I don't think I thought the merch, the biscuit tins and stuff were cute, and we picked up a few, and then there's one over there.
There's one behind you.
And grab it.
My Universal Studios is covered in dust. That is so gross. My Universal Studios biscuit tin.
That is gross. Edit that out. Do that again.
Let me see it. Yeah, look, it's like a biscuit tin, and it did have biscuits in it once, but I think the rabbit ate them.
Yeah. But that's quite cool. And then you can give your biscuits to people.
It's very cool. I love that. That's one of my favourite pieces of merch I've ever gotten, is a fucking biscuit. Are train stations easy to navigate?
We've already answered that.
No, we haven't.
I don't think train stations were that hard.
Do you not remember the massive cities under the train stations that were like, they were like shopping centres?
I think
they were like the main stations in Tokyo are huge. Like, you cannot comprehend how big the stations are, and you'll be like, oh, there's the exit, and then you'll find yourself in some shopping centre and you've been underground for 20 minutes still. You've been out of the train station for 20 minutes,
yeah,
but you're still not above ground. So I would say they are quite easy to get lost in.
I think that comes down to the planning question, which is kind of going, so what line am I going on? 8 purple or whatever it is, right? I need to be on that, and I need to know where I'm going, and they're well signposted.
Yeah.
But you have to know where you're looking, because you go, right, well, actually, where am I going? I think the first time when we came back from Disney took us an hour and a half, when it should have been 30-40 minutes. But that was our fault, because we had 3 or 4 people going, right, it's this way, rather than actually going, we know where it is, it's on this map, let's go that way. And then every day after that, it was lesson learned. I think and it's really impressive. You go into these small little sort of micro city shopping centres at the train stations, but they are well signposted, and just be smart.
Yeah, and plan. A couple of people asked about Togo, which is a coaster manufacturer, so I'll take this one. Togo is obviously everywhere and like quite prominent in Japan. I personally really like Togo coasters. I don't know where they've kind of got this negative kind of perception from, because a lot of people are like, oh, Togo's awful. They're just not. They're fab. Like, they're weird. They're actually kind of intense. Like, Surf Coaster Leviathan is one of my favourite coasters. It's bloody brilliant. Bandit was amazing. We rode that in the rain, and it was just really, really cool. Yeah, Togos are fun, and we did lots of them, and they're not as bad as people say they are.
I like fish.
Did you ever randomly get approached by Japanese people wanting to try their English on you?
No.
That, I feel, was more of a China thing. People coming up to us.
I think we had expected it in Japan, but it's an absolute urban myth. I think in Japan, but in China, it wasn't people coming up to try their English. It was just people coming up and trying to ruin the acceptable norms of society and cultural manners. So that's
Western society and manners.
Just manners. But in Japan, it never really was a thing. I think there was, again, it's too much of a respect thing.
There were a couple of people who asked for pictures.
Was there?
Yeah.
I think that was in Disney. I think it's because you had the ears on and you were wearing Disney stuff, and
but people were asking you as well. There was a couple of times.
Handsome devil, like, do you know what I mean? I'm a stud. So yeah, that's just a fact of life. Happens in the UK all the time.
It's definitely not really a thing.
Definitely. Look at that. Look at that beard. Yeah, no, I don't think it was yeah, it wasn't noticeable if it was. It's definitely not something I walked away from.
No.
In China, I felt like a mini celebrity. You'd be talking to somebody come up with it, kind of have a picture, and you'd be like, right, quick one, turn around, and that's it. But definitely not in Japan.
What are the must-do parks if you're on a budget? And that's interesting, because our friend Serena is going soon, and she's not on a budget, because she's only got a few days because she's on tour with her band, and she's only got a few days that she can actually do parks. And we were kind of weighing up what are the parks that you can skip. I think obviously if you needed to, you could do one day at Tokyo Disneyland and one day at Tokyo Disney Sea quite easily. I mean, when we go, we try to do 3 and split the second day across the other 2 parks, just so we have time to kind of run around and do the stuff again that we want to do. Universal Japan is amazing, really, really good. I would absolutely recommend going there. Obviously Fuji Q as well. It's kind of just one of those iconic parks, and obviously if you want to see some Japanese culture as well whilst you're riding a coaster, you can look at Mount Fuji if it's not overcast like it was when we went, and we didn't actually get to see Mount Fuji properly. The coasters at the coasters at Fuji Q are really, really exceptional as well. You've got Takabisha, which is the steepest coaster in the world until that thing in New Jersey opened yet? I don't know. I think it's still currently the steepest coaster in the world. Fujiyama, which is a massively underrated hyper coaster, I believe. That's really fun. Ijunaika, which will just beat you up. which is a Arrow / S&S 4D coaster. It's probably one of the most exceptional coaster experiences I've ever had. Not for any real good reason, it's just there is nothing else like it in the world. The Domper, when we rode it, was amazing. I mean, I don't know if it still is because they've got rid of the Fab Airtime Hill and replaced it with a giant inversion. But Fujikyu's definitely on the list. And then I guess Nagashima Sparland, if only for Steel Dragon 2000. That coaster is amazing. It has probably the best first drop I've ever done on a coaster. And obviously if you like creds, there's quite a lot of creds at that park. There's not a lot of good stuff. I know they're opening obviously the RMC this year. That wasn't there when we went. It was still White Cyclone when we went. But those are probably, so what's that? Both Disney's, Universal, Nagashima and Fujikyu. If you were on a budget and could only do a few parks, those are probably the 5 I'd say to do. So the next question asks about main cultural differences. I think we've kind of woven that into everything we've already talked about anyway, but I guess there's a couple more things. They are extremely quiet and reserved in Japan. So if you're on a train, it's quiet. You don't eat while you're walking around. You don't eat while you're out and about because it's considered disgusting. It kind of is. So just bear in mind, like, kind of keep it down, especially if you're in a big group and you're obviously excited to be in Japan. Just make sure you're being respectful of the volume.
I think with that, we got into our Airbnb and then we're like, well, where's the nearest 7-Eleven because I want a beer. So we went around the corner to 7-Eleven and I was out talking to a friend of ours. But I mean, like, just talking. We weren't giggling, we weren't having a laugh, we were just like, oh, what's the crack, blah, blah, blah. And somebody shushed us as we walked past. Now, I think there is a stereotype of white Western people being loud, but that definitely was the thing where it was kind of like, oh, you're going to shush me. So,
and they will, they'll just glare at you like, why are you being so loud?
So again, it's just a respectful thing. I think there is only so much you can do because you can be respectful, but yeah, it's
a subconscious thing, isn't it? Like you're just not wary of how loud you're being. There's things like, there's some restaurants you might go into or some shops you might go into where they're going to ask you to take your shoes off. That's the thing, but there'll always be slippers at the door. You can kind of switch into them. Umbrellas as well. You can pick up umbrellas everywhere for really cheap, and the idea is it's kind of like take one, leave one. You buy like a crappy cheapo umbrella, you walk with it to the next shop, you put it in the thing outside, and when you come out, you just pick up. You might not pick up the same umbrella that you dropped off. We found it's literally just people just grab and go.
Yeah, they're about £2 each, so not dear, and you literally just go right. But they're all the same. They're probably just whoever's manufacturing is making a fortune.
Yeah.
One thing which is really weird, which I don't think I ever seen in my lifetime, might have been when I was a kid. You walk into a restaurant and they'll go smoking or non-smoking.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if that's still a thing. But in 2015 it was.
Yeah. So it was a case of walking in and going. So you'd be in a restaurant and there'd be one side smoking and one side and the other side not. And if you're a non-smoker like me, you'll smell it. And you'll be like, oh, it stinks of fags in here. But that's just where you are. But there was very few people walking around smoking, but there definitely was smoking areas. So again, that probably has changed in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But it definitely was a eye-opener when you went into a restaurant and went smoking or non-smoking. It was like, I'll have a haze of tobacco, thank you very much for my dinner.
In the shops, everything's kind of, it's very delicate and deliberate, all the movement. Like they would hand your receipt to you with 2 hands and you take it with 2 hands, and they'll give you your change on like a tray, and they'll push the tray to you with 2 hands and you take it, and there's not really much hand-to-hand contact. And I guess that's to do with it being quite highly populated and it's dirty. Germs.
Yeah.
You also, when you go into shops, you'll get greeted. As soon as you go in, every single shop you go into, they'll say hello, you say hello, go hello back. Everyone's very polite and friendly and nice, which is quite cute. What else is there? There's just, I don't think there's any cultural differences that you kind of like, oh, be wary of this. It's just kind of little things that you notice that are just kind of seem quite quirky to us or quite cute, but it's not anything where it's like, well, if you don't do this, like, especially if you're in the cities, like, they're used to tourists. Like, you don't have to worry about doing something and they're not going to know what you're doing because they've seen English people before, they've seen American people before, like, they know.
They've seen Irish people there before.
they know that we don't necessarily get the culture entirely, so don't worry about doing things wrong. But one thing is that they will show you how to, especially with food, they'll show you how to eat the food. Like, there's quite a lot of restaurants where you get all of the food delivered to your table, and some of it you kind of have to finish cooking it. And they'll show you how to do that. Like they'll be like, okay, you put this here, you use this sauce with this. They'll show you how to use the chopsticks and the utensils and whatever. So they're not going to sit there. I don't think they're sat in the corner like pointing and laughing at you struggling because you don't get it.
If you are struggling with chopsticks, I still don't understand how rice is eaten with chopsticks.
But you
can just ask for a spoon or a fork or a spork.
They will judge you.
And you'll get it. Do you know what I mean? The stuff is there, so it's fine. So again, that's probably one of those myths of going, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. You're like, nah.
You can, it's fine. And the final question is, did we enjoy the trip overall, and would we go back?
I go back to Japan tomorrow.
Yeah.
Only because I hate China so much.
We absolutely loved Japan, and we're looking at trying to go next year, which we really, really hope we can go back and do kind of the new for 2020 Disney stuff, like the Beauty and the Beast dark ride and all that cool stuff.
It's a great country. I think we didn't see enough of it.
Yeah.
And I think
go back tomorrow.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me to go back. I think it was really straightforward. There was no faff with emigration.
Easy.
There was, as I say, there was a couple of elements where you're kind of going, nah, I want to do this, and they're like, no, these are the rules.
Yeah.
But that's just holiday faff, I think, is the one for you get that in every country. So
you never really fit out of your comfort zone entirely, did you? Whereas in China, there were quite a lot of times where I was just like, oh, I don't really know what to do here. Whereas in Japan, it was kind of like, oh, that's cute and weird, but get on with it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think there was a few, I've never really heard anything bad about Japan. It's good. I think there is a lot of tourist traps, a lot of sort of like thinking we went to this robot
disco. Yeah, but see, I love all that crap.
Which was like, it was clearly designed for tourists.
It was great.
One cultural thing which I forgot to mention just on that note, as we were thinking about, in Japan, when you're late at night, it is customary that, so if I'm the CEO of a company, I'll drink and I expect all my staff to stay until I finish drinking and then I'll leave. But if I'm the intern, I have to wait till all the seniors stop drinking before I'm allowed to go home, because it's disrespectful otherwise. And this is those pod hotels as well, as where people go to sort of, because it's disrespectful to go home steaming. And I don't do it, because I'm steaming all the time. But what is funny to see is you see these men, these middle-aged men, in white shirts,
absolutely
and black trousers
around.
And Clarks, just shit-faced, and sort of like staggering and falling over. That's quite interesting to see, because you're like, man, what are you doing? But it is a cultural thing, so that was an interesting.
The pod hotels actually is a really good point, because the pod hotels, I feel like we've seen oh my god, when you go to Japan you must stay at a pod hotel. No, the pod hotels that we found anyway were very much like you pay per hour to be there, and it's kind of like you're sleeping off being drunk, and just so that you can sober up a bit and go home and not bring shame upon your family. You kind of, they separate out kind of men and women sections. They tend to be a lot of men sleeping in them. It's not something, especially if you're in a couple or as a group of friends, they're not really the kind of place you want to be just
think about what drunk men are going to do when they wake up. They're going to be someone I want to be lying in.
Yeah, they're just a bit gross.
It's grim as. I wasn't fussed. We looked at it and we thought, nah. And it's the same thing with love hotels that they talk about, which these themed rooms. They're rented by the hour, because space is such a commodity. A lot of the houses are very tight, and you kind of go, well, if you want some private time, you go and book a love hotel for
a couple of hours.
And it's like, nah, I ain't fussed on that. And it's the same with the pod hotels. It's a cultural thing, not going home drunk. So you get steaming and lock yourself into a pod. So yeah, but those things I think are the quirky cool things.
Yeah, they're not. It's not something that's really going to have a big impact on your holiday. It's just kind of.
But it is
things
funny.
we notice.
It is funny to see men just absolutely not a wee bit drunk, banjacks drunk. There was a guy I remember leaning his way up the escalator. I thought
he's gonna go.
He's going. He's falling back. And then there was I remember saying that about, we were coming home at about 10:30, and there was a guy just lying, looking homeless, shouting and singing to himself, but it was like, you're just really drunk, and you're actually just probably well off. Alright.
And that is everything from us. We've answered everyone's questions, but obviously if you have any more questions after that video about Japan or trip planning in general, leave a comment and I'll do my best to kind of help you out. Obviously all of the advice comes from our own personal experience, so if you've been to Japan and you've experienced things differently, great.
Nobody cares.
That was
make your own video. Literally couldn't give a shit. Don't even put a comment down. Just give it a like, subscribe. Don't care. Literally do not care about your opinion or experience.
That said, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and we will see you next time. Thanks very much. See you later. Bye.